Good morning, brothers and sisters. Thank you for joining me on the Morning Mindset edition of the Live, Build, Change podcast. And I want to encourage you that you are doing the work that it takes to keep your own soul healthy and strong in your faith. How do I know that? Well, it's because you're taking action. You're listening to a piece of audio right now that can help you to do those things. And so I'm glad for that. I'm so encouraged that you're doing that. And I want to encourage you to keep it up. Just yesterday on the Morning Mindset, I introduced the situation from Exodus chapter 5 where Moses turned to God after the situation turned sour, after things went bad. Moses had obeyed God. He had gone to Pharaoh and told him to let the people of Israel go. And Pharaoh did not respond well. In fact, Pharaoh made it harder on the people by enforcing a new rule over their slavery that they still had to make their normal quota of bricks, but they had to do it by gathering their own straw. The straw would not be provided for them as it had been in the past. And he did this to turn the people against Moses. And so the people actually come to Moses and they say to Moses and Aaron, "The Lord look on you and judge, because you have made us stink in the sight of Pharaoh and his servants, and have put a sword in their hand to kill us." Now, this is the first example of how the people get kind of self-pitying in the way that they respond to things throughout this entire Exodus story. But it's the first taste Moses has had of it. The people are complaining to him because of what has happened as a result of his obedience to God. And I'm here to tell you that will happen in your journey of faith as you endeavor to be obedient to God. People will criticize. People will not understand. People will, in fact, accuse you of doing wrong, just as the people did here. They said, "The Lord look on you and judge." They're saying God is going to condemn you for this because you've done something that's brought about harm to us. But in fact, Moses had done exactly what God had told him, and it was the people who were misconstruing the meaning of what had happened. And what do you do when that happens? What should you do if you obey God and others turn on you as a result? Well, you should do what Moses did, though the way Moses did it may not have been the right thing. Verse 22 says, Moses turned to the Lord, and he said, "O Lord, why have you done evil to this people? Why did you ever send me? For since I came to Pharaoh to speak in your name, he has done evil to this people, and you have not delivered your people at all." Do you hear the voice of disillusionment there in Moses' words? I mean, he's being gut-level honest with God. And let me say this, it's okay to be gut-level honest with God. God does not have a prideful ego that we can bruise. He's big enough to handle our criticisms. He knows our frame, that we are but dust. But I think we have to be careful in that we continue to respect him as God. And I see Moses doing that in this. He still addresses him as Lord, and he's asking questions because he's confused. He doesn't understand. And that's often the case. When we obey God, we believe circumstances are going to turn out well, when in fact, God hasn't necessarily promised that. He's just given us instructions that we are to obey. And so part of the lesson I see here from Moses is that we need to be careful that we don't build up expectation in our own mind and then lay that at the feet of God and say that God has promised this thing that we're expecting, when in fact God didn't promise that. It's kind of what we assumed would happen. So whatever it is that you're facing in your life right now, know that God has given the promise He will be with you, that in your obedience you will be blessed, but you don't always know what that blessing or what that sustaining that God has promised is going to look like. We're going to talk about this more tomorrow on the Morning Mindset edition.